Presenting Thrice Unhappy Harry. This is the title page for the famous victories of Henry V, which I partially covered in my previous video, What in Gad's Hill? Famous Victories is an earlier condensed version of the Henry trilogy. When I was looking at the quarto, I noticed the following. There is an odd leaf in the quarto, which is equivalent to page 57. I did a simple count of Roman type words. There are 20 of them. In the Latin alphabet gematria, the number 20 is equal to the letter V. In what will be the first of quite a few coincidences, the gematria sum of the uppercase letters at the very top of the page in the entrance queue is also 20. When I first saw this page, I noticed that unlike every other page in the quarto, there is a solid block of text at the very top. The closest thing I could come to which resembled the feel of this speech was in the second part of Henry IV, Act 5, Scene 2. Prince Hal has just been crowned Henry V. This new and gorgeous garment, Majesty, sits not so easy on me as you think. Brothers, you mix your sadness with some fear. This is the English, not the Turkish court. Not Amurath and Amurath succeeds, but Harry. Yet be sad, good brothers, for by my faith it very well becomes you. Sorrow so royally in you appears, that I will deeply put the fashion on and wear it in my heart. Why, then be sad, but entertain no more of it, good brothers, than a joint burden laid upon us all. For me, by heaven, I bid you be assured, I'll be your father and your brother too. Let me but bear your love, I'll bear your cares. Yet weep that Harry's dead, and so will I. But Harry lives that shall convert those tears by number into hours of happiness. The new crowned king says that his new garment, Majesty, his authority and now his responsibility sits no easy on him, as they may think. And that's a foreshadowing of what he says a little bit later on. Sorrow so royally in you appears that I will deeply put the fashion on. It's kind of a mirror of what he says in the famous Victories. He says he is thrice unhappy. This phrase is a hint that numbers are important, because in another one of those little coincidences, thrice is the third word. In line 6, it is also the third word. So what are the odds that the word meaning 3 times occurs as the third word in 2 lines, and one of which is double the number 3? There are more clues to count as well. Soul appears 3 times. Weeping appears twice. In an example of polyptyton, negligence appears in 2 different ways, or actually negligent. He says, negligence neglected. There are 2 more clues to count in the phrase wherein I was, which is repeated twice in another one of those odd coincidences. They have 20 letters. We also have an example of the rhetorical figure of akolautha. Akolautha is the substitution of reciprocal words, where each word could be substituted in each other's contexts. He says at one point, I was born, and then a few words later he says, I was begotten. We can swap those words around, and the meaning of the phrases will stay the same. There are at least 11 clues to count. In another one of those odd clues and anomalies, Harry, the subject of the play, occupies the visual center of the block of text. I decided that I was going to do a gematria sum of all the uppercase letters in this text because it seemed to be the natural thing to do. All the uppercase letters in the speech has a gematria sum of 119, which is 17 times 7. The speech also contains 4 enigmatic phrases. 2 phrases match, I will, in another one of those odd coincidences which might not be a coincidence at all. They appear on the second and second last lines of this block of text. We also have 2 similar phrases on the margins, I, comma here, and I do. Therefore, we have I will, I, comma here, I do, I will. And note that in the phrase I do, this is not a comma, but a piece of debris that got stuck between the paper and the ink ball. And what follows do is a question mark, which didn't quite come out when I bit traced the page. Now remember that this was printed 5 years after Venus and Adonis was in print. That was the first time that the name William Shakespeare was associated to anything in literature. It was the first heir of his invention. So that got me to thinking I should start counting things. From the word I to the last time the word will appears, there are 16 words that separate them. In a weird coincidence, that means will becomes the 17th word after the pronoun I. And in another weird coincidence, will is the 17th word in the speech. So I decided I was going to count the number of words, since that seemed to be another natural thing to do. We have 131 words, of which the 17th word is will. What I decided to do was try an experiment, and that experiment was to see what every 17th word would be in this speech. So we start with will. The 34th word is comfort. The 51st word is his. The 68th word is father. The 85th word is the. The 102nd word is shall. And the last word is I. It's the 119th word. So does this make a hidden sentence? It certainly looked like it to me, but we must remember that 2 words may have different meanings than today. Will could mean a wile or trick, indicating deception, and comfort is to support in the juridical sense. Here is what Lord Campbell wrote in Shakespeare's Legal Acquirements Considered. The indictment against an accessory after the fact for treason charges that the accessory comforted the principal traitor after knowledge of the treason. We would say that he was sheltered in today's terms. And this is found in King Lear, Act 3, Scene 5, where Edmund says, "If I find him comforting the king, it will stuff his suspicion more fully." So I decided to do a thought experiment in which "will comfort his father" became the central phrase, or at least the phrase that we were supposed to see. So here we go. Sentence 1 is, "I will comfort his father." Sentence 2, "Will I comfort his father?" Sentence 3, "Shall I comfort his father, Will?" Sentence 4, "I shall comfort his father, Will." Sentence 5, "Shall Will comfort his father?" Sentence 6, "Will shall comfort his father." Sentence 7, "I, Will, shall comfort his father." Sentence 8, "Shall I, Will, comfort his father?" Sentence 9, "The will shall comfort his father." Sentence 10, "Shall the will comfort his father?" Sentence 11, "The I shall comfort his father." Sentence 12, "Shall the I comfort his father?" Sentence 13, "Shall the I comfort his father, Will?" Sentence 14, "The I shall comfort his father, Will." If anybody has any other suggestions what this might mean, or if it really is a sentence hidden in the text, let me know. In another account, I found that the 17th Roman word from the top was Oxford. It is another one of those odd coincidences, don't you think? Might not be a coincidence at all. Now this section from the entrance of the Lord of Exeter and Oxford is odd. Are there two earls in this short text? What I mean is, are there two earls implied in this text? We start off with an entrance cue. Enter Lord of Exeter and Oxford. But then further on, Henry IV asks his son, "Good my Lord of Oxford, go see who hath done this deed." But there is no exit cue afterwards. Now, it might be possible that there was no room on the page. However, here we have an anomaly. In the second cue, enter Lord of Oxford. Does the first Earl really leave, since he is only named Oxford? Let's explore some Oxford family history. Henry V reigned from 1413 to 1422. The illustrious 11th Earl of Oxford, Robert de Vere, who died in 1417, commanded troops at Agincourt and was appointed to the Knights of the Garter. His successor, the not so illustrious 12th Earl, John de Vere, succeeded him 4 years into Henry V's reign. That means there were 2 Earls of Oxford serving under Henry V at the end of his reign. Robert the 11th Earl, who died in 1417, and John the 12th Earl, who succeeded his father Robert in 1417. So that means for a period from 1417 to Henry V's death in 1422, 2 Earls of Oxford served under him. The question I have is, could it be that the first Oxford is Robert, and the second Oxford is John, the namesake of the playwright's father, John de Vere? Or could it be the other way around, that Oxford is John de Vere before he became Lord of Oxford, and that the second entrance cue is for Robert de Vere, the 11th Earl, who was already the Earl of Oxford? It's a good question. Now, between these two entrance cues, we have an interesting little gematria sum puzzle. We add up all the values of the uppercase letters in the Roman text. Sum is 94. That's not a number we usually associate with the authorship game, so we subtract the number of words in all lowercase letters. The remainder is 89. 89 is a gematria sum digit sum number. 8 plus 9 is 17. Now remember that this gematria sum is 94. When we add the gematria values of these other Roman uppercase letters, 41 to 94, we get 135, which is 6 V's in the Latin alphabet repeating count. Might not be a clue, but it is enticing nonetheless. Now we've got some more confusion here. After Lord of Exeter and Oxford enter partway down the page, we have dialogue from Henry IV. But why is the prince named Henry V on the top of the page? Is it a clue there is a puzzle here? I think it is. And to find out this puzzle, remember, in that block of text, we have a gematria sum of 119. And now we subtract these Arabic numbers from that total, and we get the remainder of 98, which is a digit sum number. Of course, 9 plus 8 is 17. And there are more hints in gematria sums in Oxford's only lines on the page. The first time he speaks, the gematria sum of uppercase letters is 15. The second time he speaks, it's 53, for a total of 68. And 68 is 17 times 4. But when we add the number of words in this dialogue to that, we get the digit sum number, 89. 68 and 89 are mirrored numbers. The numbers are connected because 89 is a digit sum number, connected to 68 by the number 17. So are these mirror numbers to mirror the real author, Oxford? Remember that the gematria sum of all the uppercase letters in the block of dialogue is 119. 16 words separate these words I from will, in which will becomes the 17th word, and will is also the 17th word in his speech. We have 3 multiples of 17, 2 digit sum numbers. on page 57, which is 17 plus 40. Plus, giving the ambiguity of the entrance cues for Lord of Exeter and Oxford, and then Lord of Oxford with the prince, we could have two possible Oxfords. One man fits all of these clues. Edward de Vere, the 17th Earl of Oxford, was Shakespeare. Thanks for watching. Stay safe.